All right, that looks like 5:30 to me. So I will call this November 30th, 2017 meeting of the Carson City Library Board of Trustees to order. And we can proceed with the roll call.
Chairperson Hayes.
Present?
Vice Chair Long.
Present.
Trustee Liverati.
Present.
Trustee Patton.
Present.
Trustee Solinger.
Yes.
A quorum's present.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item 2, public comment. If any members of the public wish to address the library board, now would be the time. Seeing none forthcoming, we'll move on to item 3, approval of the meeting minutes of the previous meeting. Did everybody have a chance to review the minutes, and are there any changes, alterations, anything?
I didn't see any changes.
Okay. If not, I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay.
I'll second.
Those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Moving on to item 4, the Friends of the Carson City Library report.
The library report is in your packet. The only thing I need to add is I just found out today that they are extending the holiday bazaar till next Friday. So you'll have another week to get over and check out what we have. New things keep coming in, so we kind of need more time to get rid of them.
Excellent, thank you. Moving on to item 5, Board of Trustees business, starting with item A, the part-time hourly wage rates.
Thank you. We're bringing this back after we had brought the concept in a previous meeting. The information that we provided in your packet identified the hourly wages, wage rates that we have at this point, and the projections.
State your name.
Oh, yes, Diane Baker, for the record. Just plow right into business there. And the impact of where we're at with the wages and how that will play out through the rest of the year. At this time, we do not have any part-time workers that are below the $10 range. We did have several, when we had started this conversation at the beginning of the fiscal year, we did have some students and some others that were under that and a ways under that. And they have since gone on to school or to other positions. So what you're seeing in front of you identifies that we do have a fair wage, I think, for all our part-timers at this time. The other aspect of that is that the impact, if we did raises, we would ultimately have to reduce hours in order to stay within the budget that we do have for our hourly workers. Did you have any questions?
I'm kind of at a loss as to what the question was originally when we talked about this.
Actually, there were two things that brought this to discussion. One was in the legislature, there was a move to increase the minimum wage. And our budget at that time, even though that did not ultimately pass, We were looking at what that could mean for our hourly workers, and that's what started the conversation for us in the library. And so we decided to look at what that impact could be, and also that if there was any interest in a raise, in order to have that approved through payroll and HR, it would have to be approved by the board. So we decided to bring that to you at the time. And at the time we had it there, we did have some workers that were, weren't even at the $9 range, that were closer to the $8.50 minimum wage. So that's how it got to you to start.
And just to clarify too a little bit on that, Human Resources or HR requested that we bring it to the board.
Are you looking for any action from us for this, or are you happy with the way everything is set up? I assume you have flexibility in deciding what you're going to pay, because I see one hourly employee at $25 an hour, unless that's a misprint. Which means to me that somebody that's got a technical or, a talent that you really need, you can afford to go and do.
So this isn't, Sina Lloyd for the record, this is not what we're going to pay them. By the way, that $25 an hour is a part-time librarian as we work to get our other librarian on board. It's a temporary position, but it is in line with what a librarian's salary is. This is whether or not, so a yes or no, if we are going to issue the ability for part-timers to receive wages in fiscal year 18.
So there should have been a proposed action in there to decline or to not. But that's up to the board.
So Diane, if you could bring up the proposed action. I don't think you guys received it this time. You don't have the cover pages. Those cover pages, there was a technical issue with Granicus, and it was not producing the cover pages. And no other board uses the cover pages. And so they weren't really sure what was wrong with it.
As I recall, I thought this was about whether or not we were going to grant them some kind of, increases.
Which is the whether or not in their performance review, if they would be able to receive a raise, which is that merit increase or not.
I thought it also had to do with trying to retain part-time employees on a more permanent basis. If they were temporary part-time employees, say, eventually.
All part-time employees in the city are temporary part-time employees if they are working under the amount to receive benefits. So, yeah, it's 1,039 hours a year that they are allowed to work. If we go over that, then we have to pay benefits and do other things.
I think it had to do also, if I remember, if people want to eventually work full-time, say after graduation from school and issues like that? No?
No, with our city employees, we cannot have any part-time employees work full-time. They have to meet that 1039. So, I mean, they could work full-time for a few weeks, and then they wouldn't be able to work for the rest of the year.
As I recall at the time, we knew that you did not have the money in the budget to cover a raise. Is that correct?
That is correct. It was requested that we bring back additional information and
Right.
data to show that. And I think Diane has the suggested action up, and we can read you that suggested action.
So what are you going to do about next year's budget then?
We always ask for more money. Always.
Are you going to specifically ask for it to grant raises to these part-time people?
We will look at the budget. We'll also look and see where we need additional funds elsewhere in our budget. We would make that as a request to increase the budget line item for part-time employees. And then that would be when we would come back to you in fiscal year 2019, and you would make the decision on whether or not you would, in 2019, issue the ability for them to gain a merit raise or not.
So if I could just expand briefly on that, just to make sure that I have all of the facts straight in my head. So the reason that it was brought to the board previously was because there was a minimum wage increase coming through that was going to be binding on the wages of certain of our employees. And then at this point in time, we don't have any employees that are below that threshold. So it's...
Okay, so there was two parts. So the first part is what you're talking about now, but that was before this fiscal year, and that was in the legislative session. That bill did not pass.
Right.
So that is essentially a moot point. There's nothing there. However, we were asked by HR while we did a performance review for one of our part-time employees to explain and to have the board make the decision on whether or not we would grant a merit increase within that fiscal year.
Despite the fact that that would decrease hours across the board.
HR is not concerned with that part.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So what the suggested action in here is I move to keep part-time pay rates at current levels for this fiscal year. And that you can see that up on, that's what we submit into Granicus.
Can you repeat that?
Yes. I move to keep part-time pay rates at current levels for this fiscal year.
And you're saying it's because there's no money to give an increase?
Our recommendation is to, as moved, keep the pay rates the same because we do not have the budget to give an increase. If we do give an increase, we can still keep within budget, but we have to reduce the amount of part-time hours. It's not a win-win for the employee either.
Insofar as our action, would we as the board be able to authorize the library to make this determination on their own? Basically put the power in your hands for that? Is that a way that we could word the motion?
I wouldn't agree to that.
I'd have to look into that. I don't have the answer off the top of my head.
What we possibly could do is move for this fiscal year, and then once Iris is able to bring that information back, then we can move from there, if that would be amenable.
I just have a question that I don't think has anything to do right now with this question, but does this mean that we need more help? Should you also be not only asking for more money in your part-time budget, but also for more employees, permanent employees, staff members?
Yes, we do. However, that does not mean that the Board of Supervisors will support that going forward, or the city manager would support that going forward into the budget request to the Board of Supervisors.
So that's the motion that you want. Is that the motion that you want the board to make? I mean, that's your motion, right?
That is our recommended action.
And so if we don't take an action on it, what happens?
We have to take an action on it.
Well, this is Diana. For the record, I believe that just means you table the issue, and it...
Yeah, but what if we vote no against it?
What-
And you don't get your motion?
And you vote, well, if you, I mean, it's a yes or a no, or you don't vote. Because if you vote against it and you authorize the raises
That's what we're doing if we vote no to the motion.
to our motion.
It's based on what the motion is. But
Well,
Yeah.
that was her that's what she would like to have
Yes,
the motion.
but based on the suggested motion, if you say you don't move to keep them the same,
that would mean you would.
That means if we give a review to an employee between now and the end of this fiscal year, we have to give them,
Consider it.
Right.
if they meet or are higher, we have to give them that merit raise.
Right.
What's the merit raise? Like, what, is there a percentage or
It's what the city.
what the city's
it's-
outlined?
It's either, it's prescribed
They
by the
have.
city at certain different levels.
2 months ago, I believe.
Oh, I don't remember that.
I don't remember what it was, but I remember.
Yeah, no, I wonder what the percentage
It's
is.
either 2% or 4%
Yeah,
or
something
something
like
like that.
Give us 1 second, please. Okay, guys, if you want to go with what Sina's suggesting, you don't have to make any motion. Does that make sense? So you, basically, you don't have to move to do a negative action. This action would be for you to take action to recommend something, and they're recommending you don't take that action.
Right, so if we don't act on this, then the status quo is maintained. And the
Yes.
status quo is what the recommended action is.
The status quo is to keep everything as it is.
Right.
And then,
Which is
And-
no merit pay increases for part-time employees after reviews.
correct,
Okay.
if someone had a question about it, you could say that this matter was discussed on this date, and the board decided to not take action on it.
Okay, so if you raise the pay, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
If there's a merit raise, you have to decrease the hours to stay within budget. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. That means the net pay ends up being about the same, math-wise. Is that about correct?
It's the same amount in the budget.
Approximately,
Okay.
yes.
So, but is a merit raise look better on a sorry. Sorry, an employee's record for future advancement?
It could, but I do want you to remember that the less part-time hours we are allowed our staff to work, the less our full-time, because they do cover a lot of desk, and they do cover a lot of things, so we can do the outreach and things that we do. So if we reduce the amount of part-time hours, we are reducing the amount of our hours our full-time staff can do all of the things that we are currently doing.
Okay, that's an important point, and that's why I asked the question. Thank you.
Well, I would like to make a motion that we offer performance rate increases to our part-time staff.
Can I put some more discussion in here? Because I know Amanda kind of asked this question while we were discussing over here. I think it was Amanda. What would that raise be, or what would that scale look like? And that was one of the other discussions that we were having the last time that we brought this to you, because there isn't a specific one for part-time staff. There is currently one for CCEA employees, and there is one for unclassified staff. And so this board would have to decide what that scale would look like, so you'd have to follow up with a secondary motion, which you wouldn't be able to do today, according to Iris, to stay within open meeting law, so it would have to go to another meeting, but that would have to happen for us to then be able to actually issue any merit increase, because there isn't currently a scale for that.
And you said if we approved a merit increase, you would have to give it to them, like it wouldn't be a choice.
If they meet or exceed.
I mean, if they meet expectations or higher.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Would the cut in hours affect all part-timers or just the ones that were getting the increases? To keep within your budget.
Would probably beat this budget right here.
It would essentially go against the full scale, because, I mean, we would have to determine where we needed the most hours,
Right.
and based on the part-timer schedules,
Right.
put those individuals working in those hours.
Okay.
If anybody wants to hear my rationale,
Please.
Go with it.
okay. I've been through this many a time. And what it ends up being, and this is not reflection on any of the staff or anybody, the people, but when you keep on working at the same rates and you don't reward people like other people are getting rewarded, those people tend to leave, they look other sources, and it's not a genuine reflection of all the work that's being done. If you value somebody and you want to keep them, and you want to encourage them to stay, if you can give them a rate increase to say, I value your work, I want you to stay, and they're willing to stay if they get that, I think we need to do that. And by putting it in competition with a closed amount of money, two things. One, you're saying that you're of value to me and I want you to do that and I'll work it out. But two, it says to everybody else, we need more people, or we need more money to pay for these people. And that's the thing that I want to go against. Because it always looks like they can do it. I mean, you have a 40-hour work week and you get 80 hours of work to do and you manage to do it. That's not the way to do it. Mm-hmm. To me, it's not the way to do it. I want to encourage people. I want people to come to work, and I want to be able to reward these people. If you're going to reward other people with performance things, I think you need to reward these people. That's where I want to go. If you guys, that's all I'll say, unless you want to ask me a question and I'll answer it, but that's where I feel.
I understand what you're saying, but my daughter got a 3 cents an hour raise, and, are we talking a piddly amount that gets eaten up by the IRS, or what are we talking about here?
Well, and I have heartburn with not giving people raises as well. Like, I just don't think that that's, I don't think it encourages exactly what you're saying. It doesn't encourage good employees to stay with you. Although I do, I'm struggling with it because I don't want to cut the hours and then, create more of a problem for the.
I understand that aspect of it, but I understand that aspect of it, but if we don't do it, it looks like we're willing to work within that thing and not force the issue. I think you need to force the issue and say, the board thinks we need to encourage this to keep people, and we need to get more money out of the city and to help do this. You can't, I've worked with years where people have decided, this is your budget, go make it work. Okay? You don't get to decide what your budget is. You're told what your budget is, and I don't like that. It's not a real reflection on what your need is. The budget's supposed to be a document that says, this is how we operate and this is what we need to operate. When you're told what your amount of money or your budget is, that's not telling you anything. That's making you a magician and making it work. I don't want to make them magicians. I want them to do what they do best, and that's running the library, and we fight the fight of getting them the money. That's what our job is. I'll get off my soapbox, I'm sorry.
I have a potential proposal for you guys. If we brought it back at our next meeting and we were able to agendize this item, but also with that fiscal impact of what that raise might look like, with a kind of schedule for that merit increase, then you would be able to make your decision based on what it would actually fiscally hit in the budget. And you would be able to see that scale.
I think that would be a good idea. What do you got?
If I could expand on that. So, based on the discussion that I've heard over the past several minutes, the metrics that I would need to look at in order to make an informed decision on this would be, A, the turnover rate for part-time staff, under the status quo without getting raises, so that we can address that part of your concerns, John. That, you know, if we have a lot of turnover and we think that it's wage motivated by stagnant wages, then that's something we might be able to do. The hours impact, based on, what was the total number of hours that a part-time could work?
1,039.
That's the max.
That's my two biggest concerns.
Iris also let me know that we are able to ask you for any suggestions that you might have on that merit scale and what you want that to look like. Coming back to you, how many options do you want? What type of options do you want? Do you want percentages? Do you want dollar amounts? I mean, we do need some direction in being able to bring that back to you. The city does percentages.
That's what I thought. Maybe I'm still not quite getting this. Would this just affect from now till the beginning of the next fiscal year? You're halfway through this fiscal year, right?
Correct, but most of our part-time staff receive a review between January and June
Okay.
of this fiscal year.
But after this time, you could put it in your budget and ask for an increase in part-time wages, correct?
We always do and have for the past 4 years. That doesn't mean that we get it, though.
That's true, but if we could put some muscle behind it, maybe we could help you get it.
Well, I think my motion's still on the table,
That's
so
true.
you guys have to make an action on that.
Repeat it, please.
Someone would actually have to second it, so,
No,
okay,
I know that, that's what I'm saying.
okay.
Right.
Can it be read?
Alternatively, if we're,
If it dies for the lack of a second.
Microphone's
My
off.
motion is still on. No, I was just.
alternatively,
If my
if we're
motion,
moving to, or if we're deciding to table this until next meeting when we have more information,
tabling it.
I'm not,
you can withdraw it.
I'm not withdrawing my
Right.
motion, okay?
No, I understand.
It can fail for lack of a second, which is fine with me. That's okay. And then you can, yeah, then you can do whatever.
Right.
Okay,
I'd rather do that than, I'm not,
okay. So there is a motion on the table. Is there a second to that motion? Okay, hearing none, I believe we will table this issue until a future meeting when we can get more information.
I would like to put on the record, too, generally speaking, our turnover rate for part-time staff are because we are hiring high school students who then go off to college. I mean, that is a significant portion of our college or at whatever career the military, whatever direction they're going. So that's the majority of what you actually see in the turnover rate from just this summer, is we brought people on for summer and then they left to go do their thing.
Do those same people come back every summer? A
No,
while? No, so it's a whole new,
no, I mean, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't.
yeah.
I mean, we had one staff member return after being at UNR for 4 years, and came back for this summer. We had two staff members who worked the last really the last 2 years with us as high school students, and then went off to do their things elsewhere.
So if there's no further discussion on this action item, I'd like to move on to item 5B, if that's okay.
I would actually like to request that you guys give us some direction on what you want to see for that merit scale. You guys need to have
Oh,
some
okay.
discussion on that.
Right.
Well, I think we should do a percentage like the city does.
If I remember correctly, we were presented with the merit increases that are given to library employees via the city scale. Is that correct? A couple of months ago?
And that's what we had shown you.
Right.
But, so those two are possible. Is there any, if you want to see those two again, is there any other scale?
No, I think it should be based on what the library staff is getting.
There's two different scales, though. So we'll bring both of those back to you, and then you'll need to make a decision.
Right.
Well, I think it should be based on what the regular employees are, not the,
Or there are two scales
you
for
know,
regular employees.
well, one's management and one's not management, right?
But we'll bring that back to you, and then you can
I
make
think it
that
should just be
decision.
regular employees, not management.
I am of the mind that more information is never a bad thing. Council, do we need a motion for that direction?
No, it's perfectly within the agenda item that's already on there.
Perfect, thank you. In that case, if there's no further discussion on this item, we can move on to item 5B, which is the approval and discussion on the Carson City Library calendar for 2018.
Okay, so what you have, and at the end of every year, we bring you a calendar for the next year. For the most part, or really, the library board gets to make the decisions on when we are open and all of those pieces. And generally speaking, we have always followed city holidays. We can work staff on holidays and we can be open on holidays. That does hit us in our pocketbooks as well as in the morale of staff. So keep that in mind when you're looking at this calendar, that we do have city holidays indicated, and those are in red. And then we have early closures indicated, which are in green. We then have, I split it out in the key to two different items, a closure and then January closure, because we're closed in January for the refresh. So that's different than us just being closed at times. That is in blue. And then we have our orange, which is our staff development closures. What you will see is you'll see each month with the day. Underneath it, you'll see the amount of hours that we are open. Those amount of hours are what is on the right-hand side that helped us calculate what our 2018 open hours would be. And then you'll also see our 2016 and 2017 hours below that. So what we did this year that we did not do this past year is our May holiday and our September holiday. So Memorial Day and Labor Day. Generally speaking, this last year we had only taken 1 day off. Prior to that, we had taken two days off, meaning 2 days closed at the library. The reason that we added a second day closed for this coming year is those weekends, because we did have staff off because they won the holiday raffle, as well as other staff requesting time off for that time period. We don't have enough staff to be open on that Tuesday because we have to give all Tuesday through Saturday staff a holiday day. And so that's why we've requested on those two. And we've not requested those on other days because they either fall on a day that everyone works, or they fall in a time period where we can more easily give Tuesday through Saturday staff time off without having to worry about having enough coverage at the library. Are there any questions? One of the staff development days is the Nevada Library Association conference. We haven't made a determination whether or not we will send staff to that conference because it is down in Las Vegas or outside of Las Vegas. And we also do not know when that conference is going to be at this time. But we did want to reserve a day in October for staff development.
I do have a comment that it's nice to see that despite the January closure for the refresh, it looks like we are going to maintain greater open hours in 2017 than we did last year. I think that's great.
Well, in Well, in 2017, we had 2,754. In 2016, we had 2,701, and then in 2018, we're close. We're really close, but we'll be at 2,657. So it is a little less,
I
but it's
obviously was
not.
looking at the wrong
Yeah.
data point. I
okay.
apologize for that. I can't remember what year it is,
But at least it's
but it is a
not.
comparable number.
Yeah, it's not greatly impacted.
Right.
We're closing December 10th for the remodel, right, refresh, or whatever we're calling it?
Correct.
Is that,
Your mic went off.
is that going to be pop-up modified or a hard closure starting December 10th?
On December 10th, we will be closed. We do start our closure that day. On December 18th is when we will start our pop-ups, because we have to have that time to actually physically move everything out of the library.
Okay. Thank you.
What you will see is that I did sneak in here on the January calendar. Our hope is that we will be open from our refresh sometime between the 18th and the 31st. The 31st is our longest day projected out, but we are hoping to be able to be open after that holiday weekend. And that would put us at the 6-week mark right about.
Will you be telling us more about the pop-up locations later on in this meeting?
Yes.
Thank you. I have people asking me every day on the street what's happening, so.
You're also welcome to take any calendars or any handouts and flyers that we have in the library, if you guys want some of those, and we can get you some too. We can get some printed up, so if people are asking you, you can just pull them out and hand it to them.
Excellent. Well, if there's no further discussion, I would entertain a motion.
I would move that we accept this calendar. I think it looks like they've done a great job in working around the closure and trying to be as open as much as they can.
I second.
Okay. Those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Moving on to item 6, the Library Directive Administrative Reports.
Okay, so as Diane is getting that up, and I need the budget. Oh, the budget part. So the first thing that we're going to go through is the budget. We're holding it steady right now at 3% funding from the Friends, 3.6% funding from grant funds, and 93.3% from our general, the city fund. The Friends funding will go up a little bit. They did approve at their November 20th meeting to allocate an additional $7,600 or so to the library to help us with our information desk within the remodel. So we'll have a new information desk at the end of our refresh. And I did say remodel, but it is just a refresh. It is flooring and paint only. So you're going to see our revenue reports first. Then we're going to go into the library funding and kind of a breakdown of our current expenditures. Our expenditures are in our gift fund, but mainly from the Friends of the Library, as well as our city's general fund. These are November numbers, but keep in mind that October P cards had not hit when we were pulling these reports. And so really these are expenses through, generally speaking, the end of September. It does include our direct pays, but it does not include any of the staff P card expenses from October or November, because November's not over yet. So then we go into the 101, the city budget, and you'll see here that we are within expenditure, so we're 32% of the way spent in our budget, and we're 33% of the way through the year, so we're holding steady there. We will have some salary savings in our salary line item. We did hire a library assistant, and we hired a librarian who is set to start on the 4th, so Monday. Woo! And we did receive, right before Thanksgiving, a resignation from our senior library assistant, who is the digitorium facilitator, who was able to get a position in the field that she aspires to work in, and did have to give us some pretty quick notice. So her last day was this past Sunday, which was a holiday. So we'll be recruiting for that while we're closed, and hopefully have somebody in that position right about the time that we open. Are there any questions about the city budget? Okay, moving on to our grant fund. Our grant fund expenditures, you'll see here, we have our NASA at the library and our statewide reading or summer learning challenge expenditures. We will be purchasing with the Makerspace grant items while we are closed. Once we open, we will be soft opening the Makerspace with the soft opening of the library. And then I want you guys to mark your calendars, and I'll talk about this a little bit later, but February 16th, we'll have a grand reopening, and we'll want you guys to be there if you can. It will be afternoon, evening, and that's also when we'll be unveiling our new Makerspace. Okay, so then into the gift fund. What you see here is just the expenses in the gift fund. Again, they're not quite high. I know that Amy today paid the book lease with the Friends funding, so you're going to see a nice big chunk hit there, probably by the next board meeting in our funding or in our expenses reports. And if there are no questions, then I am done with the budget report.
Thank you very much. Please proceed.
Okay, so I feel like I need to pull the microphone closer. Okay, so what you'll see here, this is just a PowerPoint that we have that, go ahead, because you have to, okay, that we that I put together to kind of talk to you about the different items in the director's report. The first item I want to bring up, and I want to say thank you to John Liverati here for bringing up the question of what is the value to the library, and is there a way that we can show that to patrons individually? And I'm not sure where you're going. So what we did is we put something together. This is very preliminary numbers. We have to check these numbers, but what we were able to do, because what happens is when you check out on the self-check, it does not give you on your receipt, I've saved this much money in what I've checked out this year. But if you check out with a staff member, Polaris actually will print out that amount for you, and it will tell you how much you saved by using the library. You can also go onto your library account online and see that amount as well. What we wanted to try to do was kind of bring that amount, or that community savings amount, to the forefront. So the numbers that you have right now and what you're seeing here, this is just a screenshot of the spreadsheet that we're using, is the calculation for last fiscal year, so FY17, of the savings, so after the cost of the items, the savings based on circulation that our community has saved by using the library. And that amount is $2.6 million. Again, these are preliminary numbers, and that's just with circulation. We then have added adult programs attended. That's a little bit harder of a number to calculate, but the American Library Association does have a value for each participant that participates in a program. So we do have an amount for that, as well as public access computers. And so there's a value for the time that they use and the sessions that they use. So currently we're at approximately $3.2 million for our community saved by being able to use the library. Now, one of the things that we want to make sure in this number is that we are subtracting the cost of the materials, the cost of the computers, the cost of the staffing, so that we can ensure that we're giving the community the proper number, the right number of what their savings are, what their savings is by using the library. Are there any questions on that?
And just quickly, your budget is what?
Our budget is $1.7 million, $1.75 million.
I don't want to hear anything from anybody saying you're getting too much.
Microphone.
I mean, that's a phenomenal number, though. It is. Like, you know, the value that this provides, you know, when quantified is almost $3.25 million. That's amazing.
Everybody thinks it's free. Well, their taxes are spending $2 million and they're getting that benefit. So that's a $5 million swing. That's a $5 million swing.
So we are going to work on this, and we're going to have some solid information. One of the places that we would like to try to display this and see what we can do with it is on our reader board, and potentially even a monthly savings. So a little calculator that's calculating the monthly savings to the community each fiscal year.
You should do it like the casinos and have a running total, just brrrr.
I was talking to Dana. I don't know that this is possible with some of our technology limitations based on cost, but I was talking to her about every time somebody checks out a book, can we have it change that number? Like, can we just have it automatically change that?
You just saved $35 this book.
It is not that hard to do. However, I think Polaris might have a problem with us changing their coding of their program. So that's
I asked
where
her the question, and she says to me that
Right, but
it's on your receipt that you do, and I said, no, it isn't. She goes, yeah, it is.
You gotta check out the library.
Well, I mean, we have our diagnostic statistics that we could use their data for. We don't have to alter their data in order to have a running total. I think that.
correct. So
I'm
we're
jacked about that.
Yeah, so
That's great.
we're gonna work on this.
You are going to share this at your next budget proposal, right? When you go to the city manager?
Absolutely. We do have on Transparent Nevada, not Transparent Nevada, on our Transparent site, on the Carson site, there is performance measures, and this is something that we're going to be adding to that.
Well, if the city manager, the mayor, or the supervisors are watching this meeting, they already know it's coming. And if you're not watching, maybe you should every once in a while.
Okay, so the next item, I just want to bring this to your attention. This is the Board of Supervisors and School Board joint meeting. Happens every January. It's January 18th in the PM. I'm not sure if it's going to start at like 5:30 or 6, but it is after the Board of Supervisors meeting. So there'll be a break, and then we will have that meeting. So I would encourage any of you to attend if you can. Okay, so information on the closure. One of the things I wanted you to see and the community to see are these are our current partners during the closure. These are all individuals or businesses or community groups that have stepped up and that are helping us be able to pop up and be able to do the things that we're doing over the time that we are closed. So just briefly, I'm going to go through them. Adams Hub for Innovation, the studio, they are letting us pop up in their space for 2 weeks. Beanstack, they are not as necessarily a direct partner, but that is who we're doing our winter readathon through, and they are offering an incentive. Actually, Mark Cuban, who is one of the investors in Beanstack, is offering an incentive for individuals to participate in that program, and so we're going to be running that while we're closed. Carson City Facilities is helping us organize everything, I guess is what I would say. The fire department is letting us do a pop-up story time at one of their locations. The Carson City Hall, the city manager, mayor, they've all been very supportive of what we're doing and moving forward. And of course, the Board of Supervisors approved the funding for this. Carson City Parks and Recreation will be popping up here in the community center in the kinder room off of the gym for the first week that we're closed. We're also going to be having drone races in the gym. Then Carson City Public Works, we have a project manager with Public Works who's managing kind of all the logistics of the project. The Senior Center is letting us teach some computer classes in their computer lab, as well as a pop-up story time in their location as well. The Sheriff's Department is helping us with providing trustees to help us move, do like literally the heavy lifting, which is great. Holiday with a Hero, we will be taking the pedal library, weather pending, possibly the mobile maker van, to the Holiday with a Hero shopping event on the
December 20th from 9 to 12 at the Walmart on College Parkway.
So we'll be participating in that with them. Then we have Nevada Photo Source, who's working with us to essentially help make sure we are in the news, in the media, that we have all of the content that we need so that we can make sure that everyone knows that we are going to be closed and where we're going to be popping up. And their new name is Nevada Momentum, which I didn't put that in there. The Nevada State Museum will be doing a story time there as well. Quick Space has graciously discounted significantly the rental of the pods for the storage of our items during the move that will be in the parking lot. Scoops has provided us coupons for kids for free scoops of ice cream that we will be doing at our winter readathon in some way or another that will be available to them. And then I want to say a big thank you to all of the Nevada Library Cooperative members, and a special shout out to the State Library Archives and Public Records and Lyon County Library System, because a lot of individuals who may work in Carson but don't live in Carson still pick up their library materials at our library. We have a lot of holds all the time. I mean, we make a run once a week. We also get shipments daily. And those libraries, so Dayton mainly, as well as the State Library, will be taking on that role for the time that we are closed, for our patrons, but also for potentially their patrons too. We will still be making the run during the time that we are open for pop-ups, so that we can still help facilitate for our patrons the moving of the material so that it doesn't cost other libraries more to ship the items. Because we go to Dayton, which services essentially all of Lyon County. So if you check out a book from Urington, it's coming from Urington to Dayton. We pick it up in Dayton before it comes to our library, but it never goes through the mail. We also go out to Churchill County. And so if you get an item from Churchill, it's coming through the van rather than through the mail, which is a huge cost savings.
I have a few to add to Sina's list. The Children's Museum of Northern Nevada, we're going to be doing a story time there off-site. Nevada State Railroad Museum, we're doing a story time there off-site. The Visitors Bureau actually set up and facilitated the wine walk that we'll be doing at the Adams Hub. And then all of the volunteers that are wanting to help out during our closure with our move, everybody's wanting to help out, and we have people coming out of the woodwork wanting to help out that are not current volunteers. So I just wanted to show appreciation for those individuals as well and those organizations.
Okay, so as well with that, and I'll go into the volunteer sign up real quick here. If you go to our homepage and you click on where it says Library Refresh, that graphic, it will take you to a page that has all of the information about our closure. It has information also about signing up to be a volunteer and when you're available, what you would want to do. Now, the requirement because of risk management is for individuals who want to actually participate in physical labor of what we're doing, they do have to be signed up prior, and it's still, you can't sign up today and be able to do that because you have to go through a background check and go through that whole process. But the risk management piece of that, if a volunteer got hurt and we did not have workers' comp, essentially, not workers' comp, but it is, well, okay, it is work. So if we didn't have that on that volunteer, then we would be liable for that injury. And so if people are signed up as volunteers, if any of you, because you are all city volunteers, want to participate, you can participate in those pieces, in any of the pieces. But if you are not, then you can participate in some, but not the ones that require physical labor. The media plan with Nevada Photo Source, to just kind of run you through what we will be doing. Before each week that we are closed, we will be running a 1-minute video of what is happening that week. That video we'll be posting on social media. It will be on Carson Now. We'll send it to Nevada Appeal. We're going to try and even get it in the Jack buses because we do have a lot of individuals who come to the library via a Jack bus. And that first week, it's going to be, hey, we're closed, we're moving the books, we're moving everything, yay. So then the next week, it will be more of information about what we're doing. So we'll be popped up, all the activities that we're doing when we're popped up. So this is to answer Diane's question from earlier. The 18th through the 22nd, we will be popped up here at the community center in the kinder room. Now on the 23rd, well actually on the 16th, the citizenship class will still be active in the kinder room as well. And then on the 23rd, the citizenship class, which is a Saturday, will be in the kinder room, the 23rd. And then on the Saturday before Christmas.
That's the 23rd, you mean?
Okay, Saturday before, yes, the 30th. Okay, so the 30th, there'll be, the citizenship class will be in that room as well. Then the 26th through the 29th, so it is 4 days because Monday is a holiday, and the time for that, is 10 to 5:30 when we will be popped up in that location. Monday through Friday, 10 to 5:30. Then the Adams Hub pop-up will be the 26th through 29th, and the 2nd through the 5th, and that will be 10 to 5:30 as well. And then on the 6th, we will be popped up at the Adams Hub for the wine walk from 1 to 5. And then we hope to be able to be back into the library and moving things back into the library on the 8th. But again, that date is the flexible, depending on what happens. And at that point, they may not be finished painting, but we may be able to move into part of the library so that we can open as soon as possible. With CCEA employees, we have to give them 15 days notice of a work change. And right now, our hope is that we're going to be able to know 15 days before when we're going to be able to open. But right now, we have their work schedule changed until the 18th of January. And so if we open on the 17th or 18th, we would be open from 10 to 6 based on how we've changed their schedule. And then on Friday, we're open 10 to 6 anyway. And then we would go back to our normal schedule the following Monday, if we are able to get open that soon, which is our hope. Okay. Coordination of activities, that was just going to be a quick one. I just want to say thank you to the managers and to our staff. There's a lot of things that none of us had thought about, and then, popped up. Need to think about that and need to get that solved. One of those items, and I didn't include Carson City IT on there, but they were able to help us with a solution for our phone line. And so people will be able to call the phone line and leave a message, and then we will return that phone call. And we'll be using a Google Voice line to make those return calls. But that way people will still be able to leave a message if they have questions, and we'll still be able to get back to them. The recording will tell them where we are popped up and what times we are available and open for that. So that will be an alternative to what we currently have, because we will not be able to use our city phones not on city property and not on a city network. Okay, so this is just informational. Bibliostats is an annual report of statistics that we pull together from the prior fiscal year, and that is due to the state library here shortly. December 15th is when it's due. We will have it done and turned in before we close, just to make sure that it's there, and then we will be providing to you a copy of that report at our next meeting. Okay, so I wanted to share with you an email that I received from a patron today. And yes, it is tiny, but I will read it to you. Thank you. I hope to complete the JavaScript and Amazon web server courses on lynda.com when you reopen. It is not possible to follow the courses and view the video instruction on one monitor. The screen desktop area is too small on one monitor to perform the computer coding exercises while watching. I really appreciate being able to use a second monitor at the Carson City Library. I hope others do not ruin my opportunity and necessity of using two monitors to further my education, which is a direct relationship to my ability to earn revenue by improving my skill set. This was recently noted as the Carson City Library has been nominated for an award regarding its approach to digital education for the community. If needed, I could submit my wonderful experience and benefit I have received from the education programs directed by you at the Carson City Library. Please inform John. The reason that I wanted to share that, and we have a couple different libraries in Carson City that are open to the public. We are the only public library. We do try to be as flexible as we can to our patrons, and I just wanted to commend the board. Not very many members of the board are still on the board from when the policy he is speaking about was passed. But when we opened the @2 Digital Learning Center, the policy was, before we opened the center, the policy was that you could not, besides a USB, connect or headphones, connect anything to any of our computers. The new computers in the @2 gave us some different opportunities to allow for connectivity, and the current computers have two display ports. So it's a display, and then it also has a secondary display. And so this board made that a recommendation that the library director or a manager would be able to determine if a patron could connect their peripheral device to one of our computers. And so this is just a patron saying thank you, and I wanted to share that with you guys. Any questions on that? No? Okay. I'm gonna read again. So I'm going to read to you just a statement about net neutrality, which has been in the news lately. This is a statement from the American Library Association on why does net neutrality matter to libraries. The American Library Association is a strong advocate for intellectual freedom, which is the right of all people to seek and receive information from all points of view without restriction. Intellectual freedom is critical to our democracy because we rely on people's ability to inform themselves. The internet connects people of diverse geographical, political, or ideological origins, greatly enhancing everyone's ability to share and to inform both themselves and others. Our library's long-standing commitment to freedom of expression in the realm of content is well known. In the context of the net neutrality debate, however, we believe it is equally important to stress that the freedom of libraries and librarians to provide innovative, new kinds of information services will be essential to the growth and development of our democratic culture. A world in which librarians and other non-commercial enterprise are of necessity limited to the internet's slow lanes, while high-definition movies can obtain preferential treatment, seems to us to be overlooking a central priority for a democratic society. The necessity of enabling educators, librarians, and all citizens to inform themselves and each other just as much as the major commercial and media interests can inform them. With modern technology, individuals and small groups can produce rich audio and video resources that used to be the exclusive domain of large companies. We must work to ensure that these resources are not regulated to second-class delivery on the internet, or else the intellectual freedoms fostered by the internet will be constrained. One application that libraries are especially interested is invested in is distance learning. Classes offered using audio and video streamed over the internet have a huge potential to bring expert teachers into the homes of students around the globe. So, just wanted to read that to you, that you guys think about what that impact might mean for our library, and that concludes my report.
Thank you very much, Sina. Moving on to item 7, our other administrative reports, starting with the Access Services update.
Kathy Rush, Access Services Manager, for the record. So the Access Services report, that you have in your packet, highlights last month's collaborative float for the Nevada Day Parade, which already seems like it was a really long time ago. The float came about by a collaborative project that Mark Salinas, Carson City's director of, oh my gosh, what is he? Of Arts and Culture, came up with, that would highlight the Arts Big Read for 2018, which is a community read coming next spring. And the book is True Grit, and it features a very key scene in which there's a rattlesnake, and he thought that would be a great visual for the float. So it was created through a Nevada Endowment for the Arts grant, I believe is what NEA stands for, that he wrote. What?
National. Sorry.
Oh, okay, yeah. That he wrote, and it brought together a collaboration by a number of different people and groups in the community. The WNC students from the Latino cohort program helped paint. Library staff did many aspects, including providing the float, the trailer, and banners and props and things. Library staff helped work on it. Local artists, local businesses such as Patchwork Giraffe, local businesses contributed supplies. So it was really a big collaborative effort, and it was really enjoyed by the parade goers. There were a lot of applause, a lot of pictures taken, and the kids got a little freaked out by it, some of them. So anyway, it was a lot of fun, and I think everyone really enjoyed working on it.
Excellent, thank you, Kathy. Moving on to the grants admin update.
Yeah, this is Diane Baker for the record, and one of the biggest things you heard just a little bit ago is that we hired our library assistant. This position is in administration, but does work in a lot of other behind-the-scenes support aspects, and you can see there we have Joy Holt, who came on board just after the Nevada Day holiday. And so she's been here just about a month now, and we have appreciated her role that she's started to play here at the library and the experience that she brings to us from her time being at Humboldt County Library. The other item on there is that we are in the midst of the LSTA grant application process. It is a new process this year and has been shifted. The timeframes are different, where applications would usually be submitted right around this time or the first part of December. So we are working with a new process where we have proposals and drafts submitted before the final application, and you have the time frames there. With this application that we are putting in, we are at a point where we need to prepare our next 5-year plan, and we want to really dig into and follow a pattern that has been used before to really involve the community and all parts of the community and our other stakeholders such as you and city offices as well. So that's the direction we are going with that application this year.
Because I'm new and I don't really know much about this, what does this include? Like, what is it used for?
I'm sorry, what is?
So what is it, so it's library service technology grant. So what types of things is this grant used for?
The Library Services and Technology Act is ultimately federal funds. The funds are allocated in each state. So Nevada is allocated an amount through their state library agency. And then we, within this state, they have applications that are allowed from local agencies, libraries, special libraries, public libraries. It can be library nonprofits as well can apply. And there is a 5-year plan that the state library has that is on file with the Institute of Museums and Library Services. So pretty much the way that we're structured, as long as we are within the program that is listed in the 5-year plan, we have opportunity to put forward different ideas, and it's an annual process. So every year in the fall, the early fall, the LSTA process does begin.
And then I wanted to emphasize that it can't be, they generally will not approve reoccurring, and they're not going to approve something that funds something that you are currently doing. So that is currently being paid for by city funding.
Right, you can't replace funds, or especially you can't replace lost funds, so if there were cuts or things. And that was one of the aspects where we had to be creative, and everyone had to be creative when cuts were going through during the recession, and still be able to do programs that weren't replacing lost funds.
And then I also want to note that Diane Baker actually came to us from the state library, and she was the LSTA coordinator at the state library for years. And so we have a really good resource in being able to compete highly for these grants.
So if you have any questions, otherwise, thank you.
Excellent, thank you, Diane. Moving on to our creative learning update.
Natalie Wood, Creative Learning Manager for the record. For the Creative Learning report, the first item I have is the Winter Readathon, which Sina already touched on a little bit. December 22nd through January 5th, we will be hosting and participating in the Beanstack Winter Readathon Challenge, which already mentioned. Mark Cuban is going to be awarding funds to top performing libraries that meet their goals. Our goal is for 200 patrons to read an hour a day during that gap. So if you guys would participate, we would love it. If you already read or if you listen to books, it counts as well. Registration information is online on our website. You can download and print a paper log, but you do have to actually log your information for it to count and for us to actually be able to notify you if you're a winner at the end. And we have some really cute grand prizes. It's all polar bear themed for the prizes, and they're all really cute to go with the winter reading theme. So please look into that and sign up and share it with anyone that you think would be interested in that. We'll be sharing it out with the community this week, and I'll be going to the schools to get the kids interested in it as well. The next item I have is our pop-up programs during closure. Sina already mentioned the information on our website and where to go for that and a lot of details there. We have a lot of really great partnerships with the community planned for when we're closed to still provide programs and services and opportunities. Calendars at the library, it's on our library calendar. They're on Facebook as well, so please check that out and share the information. If anybody wants any of that, I can also email it too. If you want me to email it and then you can post it in your office, I could do that as well. And that's it, unless you have any questions.
Nope, thank you, Natalie. And then we'll move on to our Youth Liaison Board of Trustees update.
And I will be representing them. Natalie Wood for the record again. PSAs just finished up, and I put quite a few pictures in there. We had tons of students in finishing up their PSAs for the semester. It seemed to go really smooth this year. Kim did an excellent job working with the school district and getting teens in, and our interns have been amazing asset of getting teens through those projects, teaching them, providing different technologies and information to them. Sina did already mention that our Digitorium facilitator was offered a new position and took it with the Northern Nevada Business Weekly, and she's very excited about the position, and we're excited for her. But we're very sad that we lost her, and we will be having an open position. If anyone is interested in that, they can apply on the city website, and it should be up by the beginning of next week, probably at the latest. Probably tomorrow.
Yeah, probably tomorrow.
So applications go through the city website under employment, and you can find the job description and more information there. The next item is upcoming teen program. Our interns have been working hard on plans. They have plans to do an escape room, photography classes, movie nights, and creative writing classes at the library. They're really getting their feet wet, and we were working on some 3D printing today, so we might see maybe some of that down the road too. So I'm excited with what they're doing with our Digitorium. Any questions, let me know.
Excellent, thank you again, Natalie. And finally, our collection development update.
Hi, Amy Lauder for the record. The first thing I want to talk about in this report is the reference collection, which I feel like doesn't always get a whole lot of attention, but we are going to be since we're doing our update, we're going to kind of be reframing that a little bit and making sure it's focused on the resources that people are using the most and that need the most and which are up to date. A few of the things have kind of moved into the decorative category, so we're going to be switching a few things around there, but also focusing on a lot of resources that used to be in print are now no longer available in that method. So definitely finding new ways to promote and bring attention to resources that we already have, as well as resources we will be acquiring in the future that are in our online reference and research databases, including especially the Gale Virtual Reference Library, which Gale, you may have heard of, is a very reputable and large-scale reference publisher that has been in print for many years and has also has a lot of ebooks now. So they have their own ebook platform that we have access to, and books that we have selected on topics including medicine and current affairs and many, many other things that are available to everybody everywhere. They have a wonderful app. And we also have recently added this year another one that gets used a lot in our paper format, and that we also want to encourage people to use digitally because the paper formats, again, are not readily available anymore. Our Automate database with 1974 up to the present and constantly being updated auto repair diagrams and information. So that's that one. And then, again, pop-ups. Yay, pop-up libraries. If you have walked into the front doors of the library the past week, you may have noticed that we have some nice, bigger new book displays. Number one, we just needed bigger displays. Number two, they're going to be serving double duty on our pop-up libraries. We're going to take all of our nice matching black wire displays over to hold on to our new book collections and leased books, as well as some videos and any other materials we throw in a box to provide materials that people can browse and check out and read and watch while we are popping up at this building and at the Adams Hub during December and January. And we're also going to be having a limited number, this is not necessarily my department, but limited number of Chromebooks on site with us, right?
Correct. We'll be having some Chromebooks, and depending on Wi-Fi connectivity, limited computer access will be available at those pop-ups. Printing will not be available at those pop-ups. It's too difficult for us to make that happen and still, fit it in all of our own vehicles, because that's the only way we're transporting all of this to each of those pop-up locations.
But yeah, while we're open in those locations, people will be able to check out books. They'll be able to bring a few books back. We'll put them on the shelf for other people to use. So it won't be a lot, but it'll be, if anybody runs out of stuff to read over Christmas vacation, we will be there. So that should be good. So if anybody has any questions on that.
And I just wanted to add, as of the end of today, tomorrow, every single item we check out, even at our pop-up locations, will be checked out until at least February 15th. After tomorrow, December 2nd, it's February 16th when it's due, because of the way that we have to set that in our computer. But up until today, we started on November 15th, November 1st, something like that. We did regular books, regular DVD, or not DVDs, but regular items would be checked out until February. Now, as of tomorrow, it is all items. So we are hoping that we don't receive a lot of returns, because we will not be able to check our return boxes 3 times a day. We won't have access to our building, and it will be hard for us to transport those. So we are asking people to truly check them out and keep them until we do open back up. Yes.
Excellent, thank you, Amy. Okay. That brings us to item 8, board member announcements and requests for information. Did any board members have anything? Seeing none, we'll move to item 9, public comment. If any members of the public wish to address the board, now would be the time. Seeing none, I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
I move that we adjourn.
We are adjourned.